What if your body's forest fire never actually goes out because the embers, aka the oxidants in your body, keep reigniting it? So today I have Dr. Paul Savage on here who's going to break down why personalized toxin testing plus the targeted protocols that he does at MDLifespan can finally start to smother all of these sparks in our bodies and help you restore vitality. Now, during this episode, we're going to shout out a whole bunch of things. So I want to make sure you're equipped with the 2 resources and the guides that we have. So the first thing is the guidebooks. We have about 9 right now, and they're always being updated and everything at mdlifespan.com/guidebooks. So they're totally free. You can get them right now. Again, over at mdlifespan.com/guidebooks. And also, we're going to talk about toxin testing. I had mine done. You've heard it talked about on this podcast before. So you can get yours done. And this is how you understand your own data. And it's absolutely valuable. You'll hear from Dr. Savage why in a moment. You can go get yours for yourself over at mdlifespan.com/toxin test. And you can use the discount code podcast200. Again, that's mdlifespan.com/toxin test, code podcast200. Let's get into it. All right, Dr. Savage, we are back for another round. It's been a little while. And this one, I feel like you're pumped up on it. We got a good one here. And selfishly, I just started my TPE first session, so I can see where this is going to be very helpful for everybody listening and watching. We're going to talk about how personalized toxic testing plays with these targeted protocols that you work with all your patients, and you're going to break it down from your perspective. So what are some thoughts on that just initially?
Joe, what we need to start with is a little bit of historical information. As I mentioned before, been in this field for 35 years, and I've watched the toxins grow decade after decade until now they are so numerous that it poses a new problem. Because 20 years ago, we had ways of getting out mold, like with binders. We had ways of getting out heavy metals with chelators. We had ways of getting out some of the volatile chemicals with sauna. A lot of chemicals we could get out of people with some methods that worked pretty universally. Most people got better. But as people got more and more toxic, and I'm not talking a little bit toxic, I'm talking about incredible amounts of toxins, where before we might have been talking in the hundreds that a person might have. Now we're talking in the tens of thousands that people have. So it's a totally different thing. What used to work previously 20 years ago doesn't work anymore. I always give the analogy. It's like I had a shovel and a sandbox. And if you get the shovel in the sandbox and get working, you can eventually empty the sandbox. Now take the shovel to the beach.
Yeah.
And you can't do the beach. There's just too much. And it's just, you can't ever get in front of it. That's what's happened through the environment. That's what's happened to us as humans. There is not a single person in America that isn't saturated with toxins. We know that because we tested healthy people at 50 years of age, and we measured 100 toxins on each one of these people. And on average, they had 13.2 that were above what we consider the critical range. Mm-hmm. Now, there's 200,000 toxins in the environment, and we only tested 100. So you have to take that 13 and extrapolate it to 200,000. And right there on healthy people, you're at 26,400 toxins in the high critical range on what we considered healthy people. That's different than the dozens or hundreds we used to have 20 years ago. It is a completely different universe. It's a completely different biologic system now because it is so supersaturated. We all are supersaturated with toxins that nothing works the way it's supposed to. Remember, toxins don't do anything good. They do everything bad. That's why they're toxins, right? That's why they're not good for us. They burn membranes. They displace nutrients. They break down enzymatic pathways. They break your DNA. They recode your DNA. They change the microgenome. They burn. I mean, it's just, they just destroy, burn, and rape everything in their path. And now we just don't have a couple dozen. We have tens of thousands in healthy people and even more of that in sick people. And it's not surprising that cancer's on the rise. Chronic fatigue is on the rise. Autoimmune is on the rise. Autism is on the rise. Dementia is on the rise. The cognitive issues are on the rise. These are all related to the toxic load that we've accumulated now over the last 50 years. This is another important part. Most of these toxins are bioaccumulative. That means once they're in your system, you can't get them out. Most toxins are not removable. Most toxins are things like PFAs, the forever chemicals. We call them forever chemicals because they're in you forever. Plastics are forever chemicals. Most pesticides are forever chemicals. And a good portion of the mold toxins are forever. They're just very difficult to remove. So that's the part that wrapping your head around, it's horrifying.
We were talking about this right before recording. I would love for you to give the scenario or the analogy of the forest fire and how a toxin, a single ember, how that affects, that's our body right now. Yeah.
So we were talking about how a fire chief goes into the building, and when they on a building that's been burned and arson, and what they're looking for is accelerants. These are things that the arsonist put over on the ground and lit it on fire. Another word for accelerants is oxidants, because you're literally taking that substance and you're adding oxygen to it, it catches it on fire, and it goes crazy. These toxins in us are exactly the same as accelerants that we use in house fires. We have them in us, petroleum products, but we have other products too that are sparks. They're the oxidants. So these flames, this fire that's going on in our body all the time, this is the real health issue. Now, we're all very common, I've heard very clearly over the years, chronic inflammation is the cause of all diseases. There's a worst character in town, and that's oxidation, because oxidation is burning. Inflammation is the heat your body produces to heal the area that was damaged. So in every case of oxidation, you have inflammation, but not every case of inflammation do you have oxidation.
I see.
The toxins are what cause the fire to start, and that's why the inflammation never goes out, because these toxins are not removable, have not historically been removable from the body. 30 years ago, we had ways of getting most of them out, and we could make significant changes in many different people. 30 years in the future now, everybody is so supersaturated with these toxins, it becomes very difficult to get any significant portion of these out using the methods we used to use.
And there's a new reality now, and that's why we even have this show, why you're in business and why you're on this whole mission with MDLifespan. So yeah, and you also made a point, like in the case of a forest fire, if there's still one spark or one ember out there, you're on fire. That could burn the whole thing down.
That's right. So from that, we were talking about the forest starts on fire with these little sparks. These are the oxidants, and they have fuel, the leaves and the grass. That's your tissues. And then the fire spreads uncontrollably. And you have all these firefighters trying to pour water on it, trying to put the chemicals on it to douse the fires. But if they don't get every single spark, then that spark can start up again. And that's what's going on in the toxins, because you have to be able to remove these significantly enough that the sparks that are left over can't catch on fire to anything. But that's a big order nowadays, because everybody has so much. The stuff that we used to use, it's that shovel in the sandbox analogy. It's just not big enough.
And so not only are there so many toxins in all of us, there's different toxins. Our bodies are all different as well. So talk to me a little bit about how you approach it in terms of toxin testing, for one, but then how protocols, custom targeted protocols, happen after that once we have the data.
So you're right. We are all the same, but we're all different at the same time. And we all have the same DNA, but our codes are different. So that makes us individuals. The basic majority of our DNA, 99% of it is the same, but that little percent that changes what makes us all different individuals. So just to be careful, I want to be careful, because people say our bodies all act different. No, our bodies all act generally exactly the same, because 99% of the machinery is the same. It's that 1% that makes us all a little bit different. These toxins, when they get into a person's body, a lot of it depends on your DNA. If you have really good DNA, and I mean not a lot of familial diseases. You have good detoxification pathways. I mean, there's people out there that are really Herculean in their health, and they don't really have to do anything. Matter of fact, they can do a lot of bad things and they never suffer the consequences because their DNA is so strong. Now, that's not the normal. That's not us regular humans. And then there's this other group of people, their DNA is really crappy and they have all sorts of health problems that run in their family, and they don't have good detox pathways. They don't have good energized pathways. They don't capture. They're just not optimum gene sets. Again, luckily, not most of us. Most of us are in the middle of the curve where most of our genes are good, but we all have some areas that aren't so good. The toxin load, if it's low, might affect people who have really bad DNA pretty severely. Might only affect people who have pretty good DNA a little bit, but probably won't bother the people who have really strong DNA. So this is my talk that I always time is like, it's not just about the numbers of the toxin, it's what your DNA set is. That matters. And people are like, well, do I have to do DNA testing? No. Look at your family history. It's right there in your family history. If you don't have family history, you can do DNA testing. It gives us more exact numbers. But a lot of information I can get from people is just asking them, what's your family history? And if you're most of the patients we see in their 40s, what's your health been like for the last 40 years? Because if you have good, strong genes, it's going to be good, strong health. If you have really bad genes, you're going to have really bad health. And if you have the genes in the middle, like most of it, it's pretty good most of the days.
Yeah.
Right? So we have these two factors that you have to put into play. And then there's another thing about the toxin test. It's not just how many you have, but which ones you have. Because not every toxin is created equal. There's there's heavy metals, there's mycotoxins, there's pesticides and herbicides and phenols and volatile chemicals. I mean, I can go down this huge list of all these different toxins that are in our body. But there are certain toxins that are by far worse than any of the other toxins. And those include the mold toxins, the plastics, the pesticides, and the PFAs. The reason those are probably much worse than the other one is, number one, remember me talking about oxidants, the things that start fires? They're all oxidants. Like that's a category. All of these have that in common, is that the vast majority of these they start fires. The other thing is the vast majority of these are lipophilic. That means they hide in the fat cells. The body can put them into, because petroleum is oil, and oil matches well with fat. That's why the body can put it into fat cells. It won't bother the fat cell, and the body has sequestered it. It's kind of locked it away. So it's not out in the normal traffic of everything causing all sorts of problems.
It's not going everywhere.
Sequestration. Yeah, it's just sequestration, which is why obesity occurs, because the fat cells won't let go of the fat because they don't want to let go of the toxins.
So our bodies are intelligent. It's trying to store it away.
Our body are trying to do what it needs to do to keep these things out of the system.
Mm-hmm.
So we have that kind of factor going in with all this. But when they hide in the fat cells, that makes them even harder to get out, because the body won't let them out, and they're under lock and key. So, but they still are in the circulation. You can't lock them all away. So the more you have, the more they're locked away, but the more that you have in the circulation. It's just, there's only a certain percentage that you can lock away. So if you only have 5, you can lock away 4 of them, then you only have 1 out there. So you lock away 80%. But if you have 50, you can only lock away 40 of them, and you have 10 of them out there running away. I mean, it's a numbers game. And now let's go to 200,000, and and then you have what is that? 40,000 of them that aren't locked away running around doing stuff. So it's just, and that's where we've gone in the last couple of decades, so that we're to the point where everybody is critically toxic.
That's right. Yeah. So toxin test, of course, the one that, MDLifespan, there's a toxin test and talk. We talk all about it. You'll hear me shout it out in the intro and in the mid. So I don't,
because we're not only doing a large number of toxins, we're measuring for 109 various different types of toxins. So it's a very broad spectrum, and it's a lot of them, but we also are measuring the ones that are the very, very bad ones and the ones that are not necessarily so bad. So we're getting kind of a picture. The reason that's important is because back to the healthy people that we looked at with 13.2 high critical toxins, 5 of them were in the high critical range, 8 of them were in the moderate range, but 50% of each category was high toxic and moderate toxic, 50-50 in both categories. When we look at people who have a lot of toxins, who are really sick, and they may have 30 toxins with 12 of them being in the high critical range and 18 of them being in the moderate range. But the ratio is like 70% high critical toxins and 30% moderate toxins. So not only do they have more, they have more of the worst ones.
Yeah. Right.
So
Yeah.
there's more to look at the toxin test than just how many you have in the high range and the moderate range. The other thing is how dangerous are the ones you have in the high range, and what percentage of the range of that high range is the high criticals and toxins, and what range of that moderate range, what percentage of that is a high critical toxin, because that all adds up to what we call the total tox burden. How many you have plus how much of you have of that toxin and how critically toxic is that toxin. There's the factor that you add in, and that score can be added up so that you can find out, because you can get people, looks like they have a relatively low number of toxins compared to everybody else. But when you start looking at, they're all the high critical toxins, their score skyrockets. But you can have that same person who doesn't have a lot of toxins, they're all the lower range, and they have a very low score. So it's not just the number, it's the type of toxins that you have.
The type. And then it sounds like it's the family history, right? It's all it's the DNA in
What
them.
that's going to show you where those toxins are going to interplay on. If you have a family history of cancer, family history of dementia, family history of alcoholism, of diabetes, of autoimmune diseases, that's what you're looking at. If you got a family history full of all that stuff, yeah, you got problems.
For people thinking about like, where do I get my DNA done if I don't even know my family history so well? Like, is that like a 23andMe kind of thing? Or
I mean, there's a lot of good companies out there. I think 3x5 is one of the better ones, and 23andMe, that's one of the better ones. But 23andMe is not around anymore. But 3x5 does a really good job. And there's a number of good DNA companies out there that will give you a good personal assessment of your genes. And they should be looking at you should be looking at the tests, the DNA tests that group it into disease states and metabolic states, because you want to know what do I have my genes put me at risk for? Cancer, heart attack, dementia, Parkinson's. But then you want to also know the other side of it too, is what metabolic problem do I have? Do I have bad detox pathways? Those metabolic things complicate all those genetic diseases that you may carry.
got it. So how does this now, let's say, okay, we have toxins, we've done the test, now you have the person's data, you have some family history. How do you now create these targeted protocols? And
so what you're looking at here is three basic phases of any type of therapy. There's three basic phases. There's the initial phase, there's the healing phase, and then there's the maintenance phase. The initial phase for us is detoxification, because nothing works until you get the toxins out.
Right.
Period. So the first thing that we have to focus on is getting toxins out. In the MDLifespan protocol, that's really focusing on the plasma exchange, the IV and the oral nutrients, and the avoidance therapy, because the best way to get them out is never to put them in. Mm-hmm. That's why the avoidance therapy is so critical. And we emphasize that with patients repeatedly. If you're going to spend this much money on getting them out, learn how not to put them back in, because you're just wasting your money if you don't, because they will come back in. And then the nutrients help resupply the body with what the toxins have displaced or destroyed, so that the engine starts working again. Once you get a number of the significant level of toxins down, the inflammation comes down, because toxins cause inflammation. The oxidation comes down because toxins cause oxidation. The immune system gets stronger because toxins cause immunosuppression. The immune system gets less confused because toxins cause immunoconfusion. So once you get the toxins out, the body can start finding itself back to its normal, healthy routines on repairing and rejuvenating the body. Phase 2, regenerative therapy. There's a lot of the protocols that we have that just focus on getting toxic out, because people aren't sick. They don't have a lot of inflammation. They just want to get the toxins out. We agree with that. So they don't need regenerative therapies because they haven't had anything that's been damaged. But we have many patients that come in with damaged immune systems, or they come in with damaged neurons, or they come in with damaged heart, or they come in with damaged cancer, or they come in with damaged brains. And they've all been damaged to varying degrees. There are therapies in medicine, and including personalized medicine, where we have peptides and exosomes and stem cells and supplements and other different modalities that we can use to regenerate the tissues that have been injured.
Wow.
But
Okay.
that doesn't work until you get the toxins out and inflammation down and oxidation down, the immune system up. So the MD lifespan approach is always a segmented approach. Let's get the toxins out, get the inflammation down. Let's start then repairing the tissues. And then at the final part is teaching you how to maintain that. Now,
Mm.
MD lifespan, we are not long-term functional medicine doctors. We do we do our TPE protocols, we do detoxification, we do it better than anybody else, and we spend all of our time and research on making it better.
Right.
But when people leave us, what we've seen from them is not only do they have an incredible amount of reduction in their toxins and their inflammation and their oxidation, but they also have improvement in their base function tissues. So their brain, their memory scores are working better, the heart plaque looks better, the immune system is working stronger, the autoimmune diseases are less confused. All these things straighten themselves out because you got rid of the root cause.
The toxin.
Then you're helping the body heal. So the maintenance phase is a big deal of it is the avoidance therapy. We're 3 years out now, Joe, on the initial group of patients. And every single one of those patients from the first set of patients that we did have lower levels of toxins today than they did when we ended their protocol 3 years ago. So people are like, when do I have to do this again? As far as we know, never, as long
Right.
as you keep the toxins out.
So walk me through, so on the maintenance side, like of those people, for instance, are they on a very strict avoidance protocol? And
I hesitate with the word strict
okay.
because I don't think the avoidance protocol is strict. It's just common sense. It's filtering your water and drinking filtered water whenever you can to the best of your ability. Now, I travel. There's on occasion I'm going to a restaurant. It's not filtered. There's occasion I'm at the airport. I'm going to get a bottled water. I'll get glass, knowing that it probably came from plastic before they put it in glass.
Hmm.
But I do my best and my best choices, and that's sufficient enough because our studies show in the initial group of patients, their levels today are lower. So whatever they're doing is working
Yeah.
because it's
Okay.
going down year after year. We unburden the system enough that it works, and now it can continue to decrease these toxins, the inflammation, oxidation, and people continue to improve over time. So there's the filtering of the water. There's filtering of your air at home because you spend most of your time at your home or your office. You should have your air filtered there. You have to go into the kitchen and make sure you make your kitchen safe from the chemicals, the non-stick pans, the plastics, all the things that I went in 3 years ago, 4 years ago now, just threw everything out the window. I just I don't need any of that. I bought stainless steel cookware. I bought wood and stainless steel utensils. All of our glasses are glass.
Yep. That's right.
Then we have the teaching people about the health and beauty products, which is a big deal. There's plenty of websites out there. There's plenty of applications out there that you can take a picture of your health and beauty aid, and it will tell you what toxins are in there. I mean, I use goop.com all the time for my health products because they've already tested and verified the low toxicity of these things. Then you have to look at the chemicals under the sink and in the bathroom and realize that you don't need all of those things. The other thing is a big one for me is I like a lot. I have an ozone maker for my washing machine, so we don't have to use the caustic chemicals in soap and softeners anymore.
Oh,
We
really?
just
I
use
didn't know about that.
oxygenated water. It's in our guidebooks. Our guidebooks are free to the general public under our website, under resources, guidebooks. You can sign up for all of them.
I'll shout it out really quick just to quickly do it. mdlifespan.com/guidebooks will take you there. And there are more added all the time. I think there's 9 on there right now.
Yeah, we have and they're good, practical, effective, not costly ways that you can keep these toxins away from you and your family.
That's right. I mean, that's huge. And I think we covered everything that I had in mind. And, it's very practical. I think that's the big thing is the avoidance. No one gets to, skip out on that. That's the part that no matter
That
if
is
you're doing
one
TPE.
message I want to shout on the top of the lungs from the tallest building in the world. Do avoidance therapy. Everybody can do it. It's not difficult. It's easy to implement. And I'm not saying you have to do it 100%. For all you people out there that have to do things, rule followers have to do 100% of the time. You don't have to do this 100% of the time. You have to do it to the best of your ability, and especially when you're at home. And if you happen to be out somewhere and they have filtered water, great. Do the filtered water. Pick good restaurants where you're not getting a lot of crap in your food. Go out, go to good grocery stores and get fresh vegetables every day. Don't let them sit around for days at a time. I mean, this is all in the mold book that we talk about all these different things. There are absolutely ways that everybody today can protect themselves against the tomorrow where they're toxic.
On that note, Dr. Savage, I want to wrap this episode. I think it's tight, it's practical, and I learned some new things too. So get the guidebooks, everybody. Yeah, there's multiple things. I'll remind you is guidebooks are very helpful. MDLifespan.com/guidebooks. Also get your toxin test and talk as well. So that's MDLifespan.com/toxin test. And there is a coupon code as well. It's podcast 200. So it'll knock a little bit off that fee there. So go try that out. Yeah. So you didn't even know about that.
Right. I didn't know that. That's very cool. Hey, we're all in the business of giving people good information and giving people data. I'm a mathematician. I'm a biophysicist. I tell people data is your friend. You just have to be careful that you don't overread it, but you also have to be careful that you don't ignore it.
Thank you for sharing this again. I know there's so many exciting things on the horizon that are happening now. And the fact that I just did my own TPE and I got to finally experience it for myself, it's exactly what you're saying. I'm living it right now. So I hope others can do the same. So we'll see you there.